Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Create and Process. Today we are back with another graphic design tutorial. In this episode we'll look at how we can use motion blur options to create out some amazing designs. We're going to create out these three designs using motion blur options. In the previous video we have seen how we can create neon sign effect in Adobe Photoshop, and we have used two options, contract selection and expand selection, and created out these two designs. In this tutorial we're going to create out these three designs. So for the first design, we'll be using only motion blur options and understand how you can apply it to any text or shape. In the second design, we're going to use motion blur options and add some color effect using blending options. And lastly, for the third design, what we're going to do is we're going to use both the techniques, that is motion blur and the blending options, and create out this interesting text effect. So let's begin with the designing process. So open a new Photoshop document. So I have already created a new document here, and if you want to see the dimension of this file is 2000 by 1130 and the resolution is 300. So if you set your dimension just like this, you can use all the values I'm going to use in this tutorial. So make sure your dimension is set to the dimension which I have here. Now we'll be creating out this design. So as you can see, it's simple text design, and this can be any shape or text. It's your choice. So right now it's text, and here we have given that nice blur effect there, motion blur effect. So how to create it? Let's design it. So I'll add a new layer and fill it up with the background blue color. So I'm going to select this rectangle tool and just create a rectangle for my background, and let's fill this up with the blue color. So let's pick this color from here, and the color code I'm going to use is 00DAFF. So you can use this color code and get this nice blue color, and here it is. The blue color is applied now. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to type out text. So let's type it out. Select a text tool, add a new layer, and BOLD, bold. Let's scale this up first, right? This much. Okay, and enter. So here's our text, and the text I have used is Avenue Next, and the type is bold. So that's the font I'm going to use. You can use any other font which is little bold and you'll get the same effect here. So let's keep it that way. So your text is ready. Now let's apply the motion blur. So to apply motion blur, let's duplicate this. But before that, let's convert this into smart object, because we want this design to be editable. So let's right click and convert this into smart object. Now you can go inside anytime and change the font, and it will be updated automatically. Now let's create a duplicate of this and drag it down and click it over here to create a new duplicate. And to this we're going to use motion blur. So before that, let's drag it down. I'm going to drag it down around this much. Okay, and let's apply motion blur. So go to filter, blur, and motion blur. And under blur option, you'll see lots of other blur effect. We'll be discussing mainly motion blur option in this tutorial. In the coming videos, we'll be discussing about all the other options later. So let's click on motion blur, and here we go. You got this panel motion blur here. You can set the angle. So let's set the angle to 90 degree. You can rotate it here, as you can see. But right now we need this into 90 degrees. So I'll set it to 90 degree. 90, and let's increase the distance. So here it's 250. Let's increase it and let's get this similar design. So let's extend it till 500. So I think 500 is good. Okay, so first design is 500. Now I'll create under duplicate, and under duplicate just go into motion blur again, and let's set this to around, let's say around 350. Okay, yep. And again we'll create under duplicate of this, and let's reduce it to around 220. So what I'm doing over here is, and this should be 90, and this one is 220, around random number. But what I'm doing here is, this is the highest motion blur, this is medium, and this is little lower. So highest, medium, lower. I have created three layers overlapping each other. Now selecting all these three layers, let's reduce the opacity as per your requirement. So let's reduce a little bit more. And here we go. We got that nice blur effect there in the background. And you can just move around if you want to move. Just selecting this layer, these three, with the arrow keys, you can just move up and down. So just make sure you're placing it in the right place. And here we go. We have completed creating out this simple but amazing design using motion blur options. And if you want to edit the text, it's very simple. Just go into this, double click on the text, just type BLUR blur, and just go to file and save it, and if you check out in your main file, it's updated. So it's fully editable and it was very easy to create. Now let's look at our second design. And if you look at our second design, it's very interesting. We have used motion blur and we have used blending options to get this nice color effect. So let's begin with the designing process. So to create this second design, what we're going to do is we're going to use polygon shape tool. So you'll find it over here, polygon shape tool. Select the polygon tool and here you can just draw it out. Before that, let's set the background. So I got the rectangular shape over here, which is black color. So let's change this color. So over here, go to fill and choose gradient, and under gradient, let's apply the color. So the first color I'm going to change is this. So for this, we need black. So I'm going to pick it from here, and the color code is around 0B0D13. This is dark blue color. And for this second color, I'm going to pick it around from here. So if you move it over here, just choose this brighter one, and the color code is 062E4C. So use this color code and you'll get the exact gradient over here, just like this. Now I'm going to change the angle. So over here, just tilt the angle a little bit around something like this. Okay, around 11111. That's fine. So just like that, we have added the gradient color. Now let's create our design. So the first step is to just select the polygon tool and draw a polygon. Just click, drag and create a polygon similar to our design. So something like that. And let's fill this up with simple color. So let's pick white color, and there we go. We got that shape. Now next thing I want to do is create a duplicate of it. So I'll just create, drag and drop and create a duplicate and hide the original layer. And now I'm going to work on this. So first thing, I'm going to apply motion blur. So go to filter, blur, motion blur and apply, and before that, let's convert this into smart object. Okay, and now let's apply motion blur. So I have given around 130 and I have set the angle. So here you can set the angle. So let's set the angle around let's say 25. So you got that nice 25-degree angle and click OK. So here we go. We got that nice cubical shape, having that nice volume over there. Now next thing is to apply this nice color. So what we can do is double click inside to get this layer style panel, and now selecting this, remove the fill color. So fill opacity to 0 and now apply gradient overlay, and here we go. We got a nice color over there. So let's check out which color we have applied. So here you can see this is blue versus magenta, pink. So I'll just go inside gradient, and the color first slider is this light blue. You can use this color code 55DBFDs, and the second color for this slider is light pink, and this is FF95F9. So quite similar color, you can apply it and you'll get it the same effect, and click OK and set the opacity to 100 and the blend mode to normal and click OK. Now let's create out the second design. So I'll just create a duplicate of this. Click, drag and create a duplicate, and this one I'm going to go inside gradient, right? And under gradient we'll do some adjustments. So first thing first we're going to do is changing the blend mode to color dodge, and this will give it that nice bright color there. And let's move this a little bit aside here and just play around with the opacity, and so choose color dodge add. This will give you some harsh effect where you'll be losing some details, but if you choose linear dodge add, you'll get that nice glow as well, and reduce the opacity now to around 30 and click OK. So here we go. We got that nice similar effect there, nice glow and there. And you can just play around with the colors if you want. Like let's say you want to increase the blue color a little bit more. As you can see, it's a little faded, so you can just go inside and make a little darker color. Okay, and click OK. So that's how you give that nice color tone over there. Now let's create this first shape. So let's unhide this and I'll just place it on top. So to this I want to first apply motion blur. So filter, blur and motion blur, and let's convert this to smart object and let's give it a little bit less, so something around 20. Okay, and click OK. So like that's nice smooth edges. Now we'll be applying gradient overlay. So double click on it and let's remove the fill color and apply gradient overlay, and this one we're gonna give lighter tone. So you can either give lighter tone or what you can do is you can just make sure the opacity is full and reduce the blend mode opacity, so just to get that light tone of bluish and magenta color, and click OK. Now I'll create one more duplicate of this. So create a duplicate, and this will be for highlights. So I'll just go in there and change the blend mode to color dodge maybe, or you can just go around and see which color, maybe screen, right? And let's change the color. So I'm going to choose this, okay, and this one I'm going to apply white. So one side is white, other is dark, and this is empty, and click OK. And before that, just go into blending option and set reduce the fill value to 0, right? And now if you change this to screen or maybe color dodge, you'll be able to see this effect. And you can just rotate the angle as well. So just rotate the angle and increase the size as well, just to get that nice smoother version of your design, and opacity as well, just to see how much brightness you want to give. And if you're happy with this, click OK, and this design is done. So now you'll do the placement properly and just move it somewhere around here. So let's go inside this layer. So this one, I'll just double click and again go inside. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to reduce the opacity a little bit, just to see the transparency effect. So it was 100%, I'm going to reduce the opacity around, let's say 70, and click OK. So that way you got a little bit of transparency effect there, and I'll just move it a little bit downward as well, just to give some area over there, and select everything and just move it a little bit up. Command Control T, you can just rotate it a little bit if you want, or not, you can just keep it that way. And I'm going to add this little bit of vector, and this is what you can get over here, customize shape. You can just go in there, custom shape, and you'll be able to see lots of other shapes. Like you can choose any shape you want. I have chosen this, and I'm just draw out a shape, simple, very simple shape, and just pick the color for this, light blue, and I'll just place it in the back. So I'll just bring it there and place it somewhere around here, and just place it on the back of all the layers. And here we go, we have created this very simple design. We have used motion blur to get this 3D look, and we have applied more blending options to get this interesting color effect, to give this nice light effect here. Now let's look at how we can create out this third design, and we're going to use motion blur and the blending option to create out this text effect. So let's begin creating out this third design. And to create this third design, let's set our background first. So I'm going to create a background. So selecting the rectangle tool, I'll just create out a rectangle for the background, something like this. Okay, and I'm going to fill this up with dark color. So it's already dark. Let's change this to a little bit darker blue. So select this, and let's change the color to dark blue, something like dark blue color, more darker, and here we go. So background color is done. Now let's type out our text. So text tool, add a new layer. So I'm going to just go on top of this, just group this up. So I'm going to select everything and group this up, Control G, and this is our second design. Let's add a new layer now and type out our text. And open, Command Control T, let's scale up the text, right, similar, and enter, change the color to white. So here we go, our text is here. Now the next step we're going to do is to apply gradient color. So to apply the gradient, I'm going to just create a duplicate just for the backup, and to this, double click on this layer to open the layer style panel. Under here, let's choose our gradient overlay and choose a color. So I'm going to choose some color. If you see over here, the color combination is green, blue, magenta, and yellow. So let's do that. Green, blue, magenta, and yellow. So this is the color code. If you want to see the code, this is the color code. Okay, for blue, this is the color code. For magenta, this is the color code. And for yellow, this is the color code. So after filling up all these values, you'll be exactly get this gradient color. And now just increase the opacity, and here we go, and let's set the angle to 0. So here it is, the color is going from this to this side, and you can just adjust the scale value, and you can just move around this color. And once you're happy with this, click OK. So here is our gradient color. Now let's create outline. So I'm going to create a duplicate of this, just hide this one, and now I'll just double click inside, and under blending options, remove the fill value, So remove the fill opacity to 0 and remove gradient color, right? And I'll go to stroke, and under stroke, let's choose the color. So the color gradient is this, right? And if you don't have it, you can just, after setting all these gradient color, and to save it over here, just click on new and it will be added in your library, and click OK. And as you can see, here it is, you got that nice color on your thickness as well. And the thickness, we have set it, you can just adjust it over here. So just move around and set the thickness as per requirements. So we'll set it around 8 for this design, and everything opacity 100 and done. So here's our thickness. Now next we'll apply motion blur. So I'll create a duplicate of this, and to this layer I'm going to apply motion blur. So go to filter, blur, motion blur. Okay, convert this into smart object and set the angle to 0, and let's apply motion blur, very high motion blur. As you can see, we have given very high motion blur, so increase the value, how much? Around 200, fine. I'll create one more duplicate of this, and to this we're gonna give different angles. So we'll go inside a motion blur again and set the angle to around, let's say 60 degree, just to give some interesting look, something like this. And you can just reduce a little bit, something like this. Okay, so we got that. So we have given a little bit of motion blur there. You can just select both of this layer and reduce the opacity to 80%. And here we go. Next, we'll add some highlights. So what we can do is, we'll create a duplicate of this original text layer, outline text layer, right? Double click on side, and under stroke, change this gradient color. So we'll be choosing this transparent to black, and change the black color to white, and okay. And here the direction is 0. You can change the direction. So let's set the angle to 90 degree just to set it. And here we want this brightness on top, so let's reverse it, right? And you can just move around with this gradient color by clicking and dragging. Just make sure to give that brightness on top. And we'll also change the blend mode to overlay. And here we go, we got that nice glow color there. Click OK. So here we go. You can add one more glow effect, just duplicate of it, and this time just go into stroke and reduce the stroke value to, let's say, 4. You can change this overlay to screen, okay, something like that. And if you check out, you got that nice light glow there. Now after adding the highlights, the next thing I'm gonna do is to add a motion blur of our body. So we got this text, this is our body text, right? So I'll create a duplicate of it, and to this I'm going to apply motion blur. So go to filter, blur, motion blur, and convert to smart object, and here set the distance to around, let's say, just to see that nice cool effect there. Okay, and click OK, and you can reduce the opacity to around 40%. So just reduce it to a little bit lesser, just to see this slight version of it, and done. Now if you see over here, you can see we have given some nice outlines in the background as well. So to create that, let's create a duplicate of our outline layer. So this is our outline. I'll create a duplicate of it, right? And this one I'll place it on back, and I'll just move it to the right and down, left and down, so similar to this, right? And we'll reduce the thickness here. So under stroke, let's reduce the thickness to around 4 and click OK, and reduce the opacity to around, let's say, 10%. I'll create one more duplicate of this, and this one will reduce the thickness to around, let's say, 2, and click OK. So after this, you can apply some blur effect. So go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and convert to smart object. Just give it a soft blur there. Okay, and here we go. We get that nice outline in the background. You can just move around with the arrow keys where you want to place this, something like that. So after applying these outlines in the background, let's check out our fill color here, and let's reduce the opacity to something around, let's say, 5%, just to see that a little bit of color tone there. And now I'm going to apply some color in the background. So let's add a new layer, right? And to this I'm going to apply gradient color. So we got that same color gradient over here. Just click and drag to apply the color similar to that, and just mask it. So I'm going to just mask the shape here, and you can just reduce the opacity to 5% just to see some slight color tone in the background. If you hide and hide, you can see the effect there. We'll add one more layer, right? And this one we're going to use selection tool, this one, and I'll just keep it to 0, and I'll just click and drag and create a ellipse and move around with the space bar clicked, drag like that. And now select and mask, and I'll just give some feather. So let's increase the feather around 100, let's say. Yes, and click OK. And to this I'm going to apply the same gradient color. So selecting the gradient tool, click, drag and apply gradient, and this will apply it nicely in the background. Command D, and to this we're going to apply color dodge and maybe softer version and reduce the opacity to 5. So as you can see, we have given that nice color in the background as well. Now let's adjust the opacity a little bit. So here you can see the stroke is quite bright. I'll just select the stroke layer. So this is our stroke. Let's reduce the opacity a little bit just to blend it with our design. It's 60 or 70, something like that. After this, let's adjust the color. So select everything, right? So selecting all these layers together, group them up, and now I'll select and apply brightness and contrast and map it to our group, and then increase the contrast and the brightness. And as you can see, by increasing the contrast and the brightness, the color intensity as well as the brightness increase, and that's how I have increased the intensity, something like that. And you can tweak it more. Maybe we'll go back and I'll just play around with the layer, color dodge, the color dodge value around 10%. So just going in somewhere and checking out all the possibilities, and here we go. By using the brightness and contrast, you can add some interesting color effect there, increasing the color intensity and brightness, and there we go. We have created this nice text effect using the motion blur option and blending options to give some color effects just like this. So this is how you can use motion blur option and create out some amazing designs. Like you can create some very simple design, very easy. You can use motion blur and the little bit of blendings options and create some basic shape designs, something like this. Simple but very effective. And the last, you can create some complex design using motion blur, and you can apply this effect to text or any shape or graphics. So in the next video, we'll be looking at how you can use radial blur to your designs. We'll be using radial blur options and create out all the possible designs you can create using the one tool. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Don't forget to check out the next tutorial coming up, and if you want more updates on design, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.